Welcome to this India Today special coming to you from the World Economic Forum in Davos here on a lovely, chilly but sunny afternoon. In a few hours from now, the weather could change because Donald Trump, the man the world is watching, arrives here in Davos to address the World Economic Forum tomorrow. And with Donald Trump, you never know what happens next. To decode Donald Trump and just why this is such a significant moment in global geopolitics and geoeconomics, I'm joined by one of the world's foremost foreign policy commentators, the host of CNN's Fareed Zakaria GPS, author, columnist, and a friend. Fareed Zakaria, welcome to our special coverage here from Davos.
Great to see you, Rajdeep.
I must start by asking you, did you ever think a moment like this would come where the world's attention is so singularly fixated on one man? I had in the very chair that you were, the World Economic Forum President, Borge Brendan, yesterday, and he said this is the most complex and challenging geopolitical moment since 1945 and the Second World War. Do you concur?
I would put it this way. What Trump is doing, and the reason we do have to focus on him, is he is fundamentally reorienting, or he's trying to fundamentally reorient American foreign policy. American foreign policy since World War II has been remarkably consistent. Through Democrats, Republicans, through wars and peace, there has been pillars of consistency. Strong commitment to European security, strong commitment to Japan, South Korea, an effort to deter countries like Russia and China. All that is being upended. I mean, in a fundamental sense, you could say, Rajdeep, that the Trump doctrine seems to be fight with your allies and make up with your enemies. Think about whom he's fighting with. He's fighting with the Europeans. He's fighting with the Ukrainians. He's fighting with India, which for 25 years has been a close American partner. And he's constantly making overtures to Putin. He's showing enormous respect for Xi Jinping. Even his dealings with South Korea, he has enormous respect for Kim Jong-un. He talks about how he fell in love with him. So there's something kind of odd about Trump, which is, I sometimes think of it as the characteristic of a bully, right? A bully is somebody who takes advantage of somebody who's nice to them and in a strange way oddly respects the tough guy who's your adversary.
Is he a bully or something more than that? One of the foreign policy commentators I had yesterday, Gideon Rackman, says it's more like a mafia operation. There are those who are calling him transactional. There are others who are saying that there is a method to the madness. Is there a method to the madness? Is he transactional, just looking to cut a deal and perhaps, as some critics say, simply make a lot of money?
Look, there are all elements of that involved. But I do think the most important thing to understand is this is a very idiosyncratic man who has his own personal ideas, whims about what is good and bad, what makes the world work. And he just acts on them. The key thing to understand is in his second term, because he won re-election, because he felt he had made this brilliant comeback, and now feels unconstrained by all those old elites that were constraining him in the first term, the Republican establishment, the generals. He now thinks he can act on every whim of his. And what you're seeing is what friends of his say, these are the views he's held for many years. Many of them are bizarre, inconsistent, but one of them, for example, I mean, clearly he thinks that a great American president is somebody who adds territory to the United States, that is what you get remembered for. Jefferson did the Louisiana Purchase. McKinley got Puerto Rico and the Philippines and Hawaii. He wants to do something like that. And so the strange element to the Trump foreign policy is there's nobody stopping him. There's nobody saying to him, Mr. President, have you thought this through? What do we actually gain? We're going to wreck our alliances with Europe. For what? For a piece of frigid real estate that we can't do very much with. Frankly, the Congress should be talking to him. This is a major American initiative that would require congressional authorization. Congress has collapsed. The courts should be reining him in. These tariffs are plainly unconstitutional. So what you see is, I mean, I hate to put it this way, but you know, this is why Lord Acton had that wonderful line, power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. You get unconstrained. There's a kind of mad king element to some of the things Trump is doing because they're whimsical and nobody is telling him the emperor has no clothes.
Very interestingly put, because there's this whole notion about Monroe Doctrine. Monroe's doctrine, from where it comes, had a very clear strategic agenda, seemingly a sphere of influence in the Western Hemisphere. With Donald Trump, you never know, is he serious, for example, about Greenland? Does he really want to take over Greenland, or simply put a gun on the head of his NATO allies? I mean, Denmark is your ally, and you're taking territory away from there. Is there, I come back to it, any clear method that you see in this Monroe Doctrine? Is he going to spread across the Western Hemisphere, Cuba, Colombia, after Venezuela? Is he serious about Greenland?
Again, what you see is some kind of impulses, but to call them a strategy, to look at them as a doctrine, I think is a mistake because they don't have that rationality. So you look at, as you say, the Monroe Doctrine, the US should be dominant in the Western Hemisphere. That is a remarkable shrinkage of American power and influence. The United States is the global hegemon. The United States has interests far flung across the world. To shrink them to the Western Hemisphere is bizarre, and the Western Hemisphere is not an area where the United States' crucial economic and strategic interests lie. The United States trades much more with Europe than it does with the Western Hemisphere. Its economic interests are anchored in Europe. Its future economic interests are probably anchored in Asia. You could make a case, for example, that the United States maintaining a strong strategic relationship with India is going to be far more important to its future than what it does in Venezuela. But Trump has kind of gotten into his head that, oh, there's oil in Venezuela. I mean, again, the facts don't bear any of this out. The oil in Venezuela is complex, dirty, hard to extract. As an oil executive said to me, an American oil executive, he said, Fareed, let me put it to you simply. It costs us about $80 to extract Venezuelan oil. The oil price right now is $60. That math tells you nobody is going to invest in the Venezuelan oil industry because you're not going to sell oil at a $20 loss. But again, for Trump, it's all these instincts, impulses, emotions.